Hi guys, and welcome to Piano and Keyboard Artist, where we discuss the artists related to pianos, keyboards, and synthesizers. And this is my breakdown of Depeche Mode's epic track, Stripped. So this video will conclude my little Stripped mini-series, well, two-part series really, and I will leave a link in the description below where you can watch this video. And in that video, I interviewed Mr. Peter Kerr. Now, Peter Kerr was the man who directed It's Called a Heart, Stripped, and Shake the Disease. And in that video, it was a Zoom chat. Peter and I geeked out big time about how he did Stripped. And so be sure to watch that video if you're a Depeche Mode fan. If you're not a Depeche Mode fan, why the hell are you here? Stripped is definitely one of my favorite Depeche Mode songs. Definitely one of my top 5. And I've often said that the Depeche Mode fan base is very loyal, the devotees, very passionate, and I have seen so many heated debates with Depeche Mode fans, you know, with regards to which albums they like, which albums they don't like, and whatnot. And then there's always that debate. You know, some people will say, this is a great song. No, that's not a great song. Other people will say, this is a great song. That's not a great song. However, Stripped to me is one of the songs where Depeche Mode fans unanimously agree. In fact, every Depeche Mode fan I've asked will always put Stripped into one of their favorite Depeche Mode songs, at least in the top 5, along with, you know, songs like Shake the Disease and a few others. But Stripped is really a fan favorite. And so what I want to do today is just break it down. We're going to just talk about the song generally, and then I'm going to analyze the separate parts that the band members perform. Stripped is a song that ticks so many boxes. It is effective on so many fronts. If you've been following my album review series on this channel, you will know that after analyzing every song, I always play the song on a acoustic piano sound, just so you can sort of hear the beauty of the melodies and the complexity and not be distracted by the synthesized sounds and the bells and whistles. Of course, today we're going to do both. I'm going to show you the individual sounds that the band members perform, and then I'm going to do a piano improvisation, just so you can kind of once again hear the beautiful richness of the song. This song, why it, you know, it's you can't intellectualize why something makes you feel a certain way. I often say that intellect is the enemy of emotion, because, you know, an emotion, very often, you know, intellect and emotion are polar opposites. But if I was to rationalize why Stripped is a great song, first of all, it's great, you know, the melody. I think it's fundamentally a great melody. That is the strength, that is the bedrock, that is the foundation. At its basis, Stripped is fundamentally melodically pleasing. It's brilliant, it's dark, it's epic, it's all these things. And once again, when I do the piano improvisation at the end, you will hear that even without using the synthesized sounds that we're so used to, it has everything there, even if it's played just on an acoustic piano. Stripped also has a really funky, but the groove, you know, the rhythmic backbone of this track. Has always reminded me of a locomotive. In fact, I always thought it was a locomotive many years ago. And in fact, when I started my channel here, I always wondered that, you know, the I always said, what is that sound? And of course, fast forward to the current day, thanks to all the geeks out there, we now know that that sound is a motorbike idling sound from a Harley Davidson, I believe. I actually had a subscriber send me a video of a Harley Davidson idling. So that is a Harley Davidson idling sound. There is a misconception where people actually think that Depeche Mode actually sampled that sound, but if you watch the video, which goes back about 10 years ago, when Alan Wilder was selling all his equipment, he released that video series called collected, or was it recollected? Collected. Anyway, and he pulled out the old Emaxes and stuff and showed the stuff that he was auctioning. And when he was going through some of the sounds, Stripped was one of the songs he addressed. And when he hit the key, we heard that duk-duk. And Alan Wilder indeed said that was a factory sample from the Emax library. So I don't know if that was his memory failing him. I doubt it. But that's something we can discuss. Did they sample it? But according to Alan Wilder himself, that was just a sample sound which was on the Emax library. Now, using the duk-duk, the motorbike idling sound as the foundation of the song, is fascinating. It starts from the beginning and it ends with it. It never stops. But then, of course, the rhythmic elements of that, the drums that come in, it's bum ba ba bum bum ba ba bum ba ba bum bum ba ba. Very industrial, very direct, very sort of stompy. Now, when you take duk-duk, 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 and you layer it with bum ba ba bum bum ba ba bum ba ba bum bum ba ba, you get and it's got this kind of, and the way the sort of motorbike idling sound blends in with the dum ba ba boom boom ba ba dum taka dum it just gives it this incredible groove and feel, and it's effortless. It is absolutely effortless. I'm getting carried away, as you can see. The bass line of the song is really just a droning bass sound. It's not sequenced. It's not on the backing track, and this part, when performed live, is played by Fletch, and I'm going to demonstrate that now. So this bass part, as played by Fletch, is very, very simplistic. However, if you go back to my previous video on what does Fletch do, I explained at length in that video that just because something is easy to play, or it's got few parts, can actually in fact make it quite difficult. And what I mean by that is, it's not like if you're, in a rock band, if you're playing a bass line, you're going boom, 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 you can kind of groove off it, so to speak. However, in a song like Stripped, the parts are very, very distinct, and there is no room for mistake. In fact, I've heard Fletch make mistakes a few times with us live. He doesn't hit the wrong note, but he's kind of sometimes, triggered it off the beat. I don't want to go into that, but I'm going to explain to you why something so seemingly simple can actually be quite difficult if you're not paying attention. Anyway, so Fletch part is... We all know that very well. Then, of course, over that, Martin plays his string part. So, Fletch again. Then Martin goes do, 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 do. Concentrate on Fletcher's part. And then just holds there. Now you can hear the resonance. It's got like a flanging kind of effect. And then come with me into the trees. We'll lay on the grass. Let the hours pass. Take my hand. Come back to the land. Let's get away just for one day. And then back to the first part. Let me see you stripped down to the bone. Let me see you stripped down to the bone. And then it just holds here. And then you've got the dun 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 dun. So it just holds. So he's really just holding it like that. And then it's the metropolis has nothing on this. You're breathing in fumes. I taste when we kiss. Take my hand. Come back to the land where everything's ours for a few hours. And then back to the original part. Let me see you stripped down to the bone. And again. Let me see you stripped down to the bone. And then, let me hear you make decisions without your television. Then let me hear you speaking just for me. And then Martin does the do. So you can see, it's really, for Fletch, it's just those two parts. Now, that's not difficult to play, but because it's so simple, if you just hit one note wrong, it's going to stick out like a sore thumb because it is so sort of open and naked. So that is why it does take a certain amount of concentration. It's fundamentally just these two parts for Fletch. It's that, and then of course on the verses it's the come with me into the tree, la 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 la, la 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 la. It's just those two parts. Once again, easy, but if you're not paying attention, you can get it horribly wrong, because that's like the foundation of the song, really, besides the drums and the groove. Martin's part on this song fundamentally has two parts, really. Besides his vocal, of course. Very simplistic, but then again, simplistic does not mean not good. Once again, a very simplistic part, but a very iconic part. A part that is so embedded into our psyches that if he was to get one note wrong, it would stand out like a sore thumb. Martin's part, we know it so well. Just beautiful. Timeless, stunning sound. Now, just something geeky that I want to point out is you will notice that on the Black Celebration album, that is played, well, the notes are the same, but he's played more staccato style. Listen to the lead riff on the actual Black Celebration album, and you will notice it is played like this. You see, it's like staccato. It's not, I mean, the way they do it now, and of course the way they did it on the remixes, and the way we know it now is it's sustained. Like that. Sustained notes. Once again, on the Black Celebration album, it's and they obviously, I don't know, probably from the time when they started doing the remixes. Remember the Highland mix, one of my favorite mixes of Stripped, where it actually just starts with that beautiful, iconic riff. I think you'll agree that that part, and we know it so well, it actually sounds better when it's sustained. And in fact, I've pointed this out to a lot of Depeche Mode fans, and they haven't even noticed. Once again, go back to the Black Celebration album and noticed that it is not sustained. It is played, you know, staccato. Is that the word, staccato? Once again, the basis for that sound, you know, and we can speculate it's obviously some kind of string or pad sound, which is oh, there's a oh, and there's a oh. It's obviously, it seems to be split a clock. When you hit one key, there's sort of like, I can determine about 3 octaves. You know, there's a oh and a oh and a oh on that one note. Of course, someone has said that within this sample, and remember, Depeche Mode were one of the forerunners of, you know, creative sampling, and what it was not only sampling sounds in nature, but they would be combined with sounds from synthesizers and presets and whatnot. There was no rules really, and it was just combine things and just, let your imagination run free. Someone has actually said, I don't know how true this is, and you can jump in on this. Apparently, within this sound, there is a locomotive's horn coming through a tunnel, apparently. Now, I can't hear it. I don't know. It's fascinating. I don't know if the person who said that meant it literally, or if he was just meaning that there is the Breathing in Fumes remix where it goes, it's got that train's horn. I don't know. And a lot of people sort of ask me often, what is the basis of this sound, of that sound? We can speculate, man. So indeed, if you want to join my Patreon community, this is something we're going to be starting, is a in-depth behind-the-scene Zoom chats where we're going to break these songs down and, we'll have a few drinks and analyze them. So join the Patreon group if you want even more in-depth content. The next iconic part that Martin plays is this. Once again, that sound is embedded so deeply into our psyche. Now, what's interesting about that is when we go to the Alan Wilder sound bank in a moment, you will notice that Alan plays this part as well. Now, as far as I'm aware, and once again, I don't know everything, correct me if I'm wrong, I've been told that back in the days when Alan was still in the band, this part would be played by Alan and Martin. They'd both be playing the same part in unison, although they had different sounds, and you will see Alan's sound is different, although he's playing exactly the same notes. So Martin's part, once again. So he'll be playing that in unison with Alan, and of course the combination of them playing it at the same time would kind of beef up the sound. And of course, being human, they would never hit the note quite at exactly the same time, which would give it that kind of live feel. Now, when you hold the sound down, can you hear it? You can hear the looping. But of course, it's not meant to be played like that. It is meant to be played like this. What's the basis of this sound? Oh God, let's just not go down a rabbit hole. Just off the top of my head, yeah. It has some kind of percussive attack on it. And some kind of bell. It's got a very it's got like a very watery sound, if that makes any sense. Kind of like an underwater kind of sound. Once again, this is something I've been very critical about Depeche Mode on their recent live tours, is just sort of the use. I get the feel that they're just going, oh, use this preset or use this preset from whatever synthesizer. Whereas you can just hear when you break these sounds down and when you actually just listen to them, there is so much detail that goes into these sounds. Of course, that detail is evident in the songs, but strip everything away and just listen. Listen to these individual sounds. The amount of detail is just breathtaking and mind-boggling. Jumping into the Alan Wilder sound bank, once again, the individual parts that he plays are not difficult to play. However, once again, it's because they are simple that makes them iconic, and that means there is no room for error. Starting off with the first sound that we hear that Alan would play is the part where Dave goes, "Come with me into the trees," which is, "Come with me into the trees. We'll lay on the grass, let the hours pass. Take my hand, come back to the land. Let's get away just for one day." And then he jumps straight here. "Let me see you strip down to the bone." And this. And then later on, he'll jump onto "Metropolis has nothing on this." And then Alan, along with Martin, will play this part. Now, that part that Alan plays, once again, he's playing it in unison with Martin. They're playing exactly the same notes. But this sound that Alan is playing is a lot more prominent in the mix. I think and I may be wrong, but because this sound of Alan's is more prominent, it is my belief that when it is mixed, when they go, when they're playing live, Martin is playing his part exactly the same in unison with Alan, but his part is lower in the mix. So it's I wouldn't say it's barely audible, but I think it's there just to sort of fill out the sound. But Alan's part, which is this sound, is the sound that we've come to know and adore. Played in unison with Martin's, and Martin's is lower in the mix just to sort of fill out the sound. Now let's analyze these individual sounds, starting with the "Come with me into the trees," this sound. Now that's definitely something percussive. It sounds like, I don't know, remember back in those days they were very big into walking around industrial sites with, with hammers, sticks and poles and just hitting and bashing things. And so if we listen to that sound, it's definitely got a sort of like a room sound to it. Now, once again, this was at a time when they were working with Gareth Jones, so it is my belief, and I could be wrong, and indeed I would ask Gareth, but as you know, on all the few episodes that I've been speaking to Gareth, very often we will ask him a question regarding something and he can't remember because it was such a long time ago. But listen to the sort of room reverb on the sound. It's just got a real sort of like room kind of, sort of like a large room, or a kind of like a small, well, not really a hall, kind of like a plate effect. Anyway, once again, how they achieved that sound. Now that effect, that reverb, could have been added on just using a effects processor, or because it was back in the time with Gareth Jones, and Gareth Jones was obsessed with the sound with the acoustic spaces, it could have been as you know, the sound of the room that was recorded and blended with this. Analyzing the sound of this part, if we just hit a note, there's a bend. Once again, there is so much detail when you put these sounds under the microscope, and something that is very evident when you analyze a lot of these sounds is not only a lot of layering, but also a lot of detuning. So very often on a note you will have, like if I'm hitting the D there, sometimes on some sounds you will have a note which is not sort of in harmony with the scale, which is kind of put onto that key, if you know what I mean, which kind of gives it that sort of discordant sound. Shake the Disease is a classic example, but we're not going to go there now. Coming back to this sound, see how it's like, so it's got like a bend to it, but of course it's not meant to be played like that. It is meant to be played. Watch this. Notice how that's just dun, dun, dun. So these are just straight. Notice on just this is interesting, just on the last note here, it's got like a bend. These notes don't have the bend. Listen. Dun. It's just straight. Just the last note has the bend. Can you see what I mean? That is why when these songs are played live in current times, not all songs, and they're just using presets from synthesizers, it doesn't work because, a preset is a preset and you can tweak a preset and there's nothing wrong with that. However, Depeche Mode and the world of presets are like night and day. They don't even go together. So just in this one example here, once again, notice how the detail in every note, it's almost to a point where, and I found this in a lot of the other sounds that I've analyzed, is that although here's the sound, very often each note within this sequence will be slightly different. Like, for instance, you'll have that note, and then you will hear the second note will have more elements of attack, or there'll be more bend, or there'll be so many. each note within the sequence will have so many details which are unique to each note, which you would not get if you played it on a preset, because with a preset, usually it's just, if it's a synth sound, for instance, a saw sound, it's just the saw sound all across. If you're a musician, you'll know what I mean. And if you're not a musician, forgive me, I'm trying to explain this as detailed as I can. Just understand that with Depeche Mode, each note, although it's the same sound, using the same sound, there can be so much intricate details programmed into each note, which you can only hear when you put these sounds under a microscope. So once again, that's direct. And the last note's got like it's got like a bend. That is why when going live, there are certain sounds, and of course I understand they need to evolve, but there are certain sounds that are so fundamental to the song. And that is why, for instance, that sound, just like the lead sound that Martin plays, it is absolutely fundamental to that song. You could not get away using a generic string sound or even an orchestral string sample. It needs to be these exact sounds. I'm getting intense now, I understand. Let's look at some of the other sounds that he's got here. So once again, as I say, kind of like a percussive. It's almost got kind of like there's like a wood block in there, and yeah, it's got like a snap, almost like a slap delay as well at the end there. There is so much detail, so much detail. In fact, we could do a whole video series on just one set of sounds. It's phenomenal. Let's jump to the sound. Now, to me, that was always, once again, open to interpretation, but to me, the basis of that, it is a guitar sound. It sounds like it sounds like a distorted guitar. Listen. Can you hear the R at the end? Now that is probably one of these sort of most industrial sounds on the sort of played parts here, and it's not a very melodic part, but the idea of that part is it is very rhythmic. It's and it just gives dun dun dun. It just gives it that grit and that edge. Looking on the Alan Wilder sound bank in the middle here somewhere, I know we've got some samples. There we go. Now that's the ignition sound of a car. Now I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that is the ignition sound of Dave Gahan's Porsche. And there we go. So you've got this, and then. Now, of course, to anyone who's not a Depeche Mode fan, and I've played them these sounds, they'd be like, what's the big deal, man? It's just the sound of a car starting. I'm like, no fucking way, mate. This is Dave Gahan's Porsche in 1986. Show some respect, dude. So we have here. Okay, so there's the sound of a handbrake. It's got like there's also at the back sound of it, there's like an engine rev. So they've just taken a very short snippet. There's the ignition again. Oh, there's just so that's basically this, and then that's just pitched up, and there we get the actual ignition. Nothing there. Okay, well, as you can see, lots of little sounds sort of thrown in there. And as Alan Wilder said on that iconic part in 101, he said, you're limited by what you can manage with your hands. As far as the sound goes, and then he was interrupted, he said, you've got to remember where you put it. But it becomes very automatic. Your hands just sort of go there, as he said. Now watch the Depeche Mode Stripped, the 101 version. Watch Alan Wilder. Watch where his hands are. Now he is using this exact machine, which is the Emax. And he's going, watch where his hands are. And then he jumps to this part, to the lower part of the keyboard jump. But of course, that's just a bit of geeky detail, which I do not apologize for. So I've now demonstrated which member plays what, and we've had a listen to each of these sort of individual sounds. Now, once again, you can go into so much detail as to how these sounds were developed, how they were made. Once again, the detail and the love and just the care and effort that has gone into these sounds is something that always boggles my mind. And in fact, what boggles my mind even more is when I look at the technology we have now and the technology they had then. And very often I listen to a lot of music of that period and I'm just blown away, because I think people had to try a lot harder in those days to achieve a certain sound. And I think modern production, although I'm not mocking it, because of all its convenience, it has made us a little bit lazy. But anyway, I want to now focus on the structure, the arrangement of the song. And in order to do that, I'm going to just use the piano. Now, the reason we do that, as you know, is because when we hear those beautiful, iconic sounds, we're kind of distracted by them in a good way. But playing it just on the raw piano will hopefully allow you to hear it in a different way and to sort of... I always point out that if Martin Gore was born 500 years ago, of course, he wouldn't have had a synthesizer. He'd still have great musical ideas. He'd still, play this on a piano or on a mandolin or on a harp. It works because it is a fundamentally beautiful song. And I'm very, very old-fashioned, but I will debate it with anyone. I don't care how musically schooled you are. I've never studied music, but I will debate till the cows come home with you the fact that a good song is based on a good melody, and you will not. And good luck trying to prove me, trying to convince me otherwise. It is all about melody and structure. Starting with stripped, it's simple. It's almost like a... I've often said that Martin's songs have this. It's almost like a. It's kind of like a, almost like a childish chant. I don't mean that in a bad way, but in a bad way. But listen to like na 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 da 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 da. That kind of thing. It almost has this kind of like childlike, haunting. It's very difficult to put in words, but listen to it. You know, just as they say, a picture paints 1,000 words, it's the same with melody. You know, I can explain it till I'm blue in the face, but just play it and I still won't be able to convey what I'm trying to say, because, you know, emotion is bigger than our capacity to explain ourselves, I always say. You see, it's this, it's the... Na, 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 na. There's something about that transition, and I don't want to call it a hook, because I hate the word hook. It's just synonymous with, hey, pop music, man, hit the hook, put the hook in, man, hook, get to the hook, don't bars, get to the chorus. And then we come to the chorus. It's so beautifully, flowingly simple. It's the sort of like droning, or the sort of like... It's very hypnotic because it kind of lingers on this part. To me is a very hypnotic part, because it sort of lingers, sustains on this note for a long time. Listen. And then just as it's sort of overstaying its welcome, it briefly moves to the A. And then back to the... Lost for words. Just as a sort of improvisation, it's easy to get carried away with it. It's just a D to an A. And the chorus is simply, it's just a C to a G to a sharp to a D again. So it's in fact, if you want to learn this song, start off with Fletcher's part. That's usually the easiest. And it's just... and then learn Martin's part, which is... Put the two together. And then just, as I say, learn the bass line. Come with me into the trees, we'll lay on the grass, let the hours pass. Take my hand, come back to the land, let's get away, just for one day. And then to the chorus. Let me see you stripped down to the bone. Let me see you stripped down to the bone. And then it just sustains here. Metropolis has nothing on this. You're breathing in fumes I taste when we kiss. Take my hand, come back to the land where everything's ours for a few hours. Then let me see you stripped down to the bone. Beautifully simple but gorgeous. You see, even if synthesizers never existed, that could have been a stunning, stunning piano piece. Right, how deeply down the rabbit hole did we go today? I've enjoyed that. I hope you have as well. My friends, it's now up to you. Leave your comments in the description below. Let me know what you think of Stripped, anything you want to say. Actually, let me ask the question. Is Stripped one of your top 5 Depeche Mode songs? And if it is not, let me know why. Anything you want to say about Stripped, let's open the can of worms. Let's jump deeper into the rabbit hole. Although I have addressed this song a lot in my album review series, there is so much more we can speak about any subject. You can just keep peeling the layers and going deeper and deeper. And indeed, Depeche Mode's song is all about layers and concepts and lyrics. And my God, Depeche Mode is an institution. It is more than just a band. So leave your comments in the description below. If you're one of those people who's been watching the videos but has not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. I'll be very grateful, and hit the like button if you like this. Indeed, if you're brand new to this channel, this is the channel to be at if you're a Depeche Mode fan. Just check my previous videos and you will see a huge variety of Depeche Mode interviews with iconic producers such as Dave Bascombe, Brian Griffin, the photographer, and of course Gareth Jones, who's also releasing his vinyl on my Agro Monkey Records at the moment. That's another story. If you're on Facebook, and who's not on Facebook, then please head over to the Vaughan George Facebook group and request to join. Now, the idea of the Vaughan George Facebook group is it's kind of like a discussion platform, and we use that group to discuss the subjects which I address on these videos. So the Facebook group is a forum group related to the Vaughan George YouTube channel. So join it. It's a really positive, uplifting community, and I would love to meet you there. Just to remind you that the Depeche Mode album review series is continuing, and Violator Part 1 will be out in February very soon. I look forward to seeing you again on the live streams, the Zoom chats, or the next YouTube video, or the Facebook group. All the best, my friends. Adios.